Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wow, You Made That. This is a podcast that's going to talk about things handmade. We're not anti-computers, but we're going to talk and promote things made by hand, predominantly from the entertainment industry point of view, but not exclusively. I'll be branching out as long as I can keep these podcasts going. And today's guest is a special one. He's an old friend of mine. I've known him well over 20 years. Timothy Arp. Tim Arp, as everybody knows him in the biz. He's just a generally really sweet guy, but he's one of the finest model makers, builders, prop masters out there that you'll come across. His skills are at a very good level, and I'm real happy to also call him a good friend. So without further ado, let's talk to Tim. Okay, today I'm sitting here with my friend Tim Arp. I've known him for how long now? Probably 2 decades?
I was trying to remember what the first thing was that we worked at. Was it at Ferrari's on the Zell job?
It must have been.
Right before Stealth.
I never worked with you at Vision Crew?
No.
Okay, so it had to have been Ferrari.
I think it was Ferrari. And I'd heard your name and I'd heard about you, but I don't think that must have been the first place that we worked together.
So that was probably a Zell.
Absolutely.
Sam Zell is a billionaire, and he would make, every year, he'd make these very elaborate music boxes for his close friends. And so a couple of the shops we worked at, we were able to work on those projects. They were odd. They were unusual.
Out of the ordinary, yes.
Yes.
And I remember there was an incident where I probably horribly disappointed you because remember we would do the two-part molds?
I don't remember.
Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember this.
We would do the two-part molds. And I didn't spray mold release on the first half.
Oh,
and
dear.
that evening, we'd pour the molds at night. Yeah,
right,
right. So we poured the second half, and you thought that I'd spray it with mold release. I hadn't. So that mold was no good.
I don't remember. Did it lock? And we had to cut.
Of course it did.
So we had to cut all the patterns out and start over.
Yeah, it started over.
God, I wish I could remember that. I don't remember. That's great.
I remember that.
So John Ferrari, that was a good shop.
And then when was Stealth? Was that 2004 that we worked on?
Stealth was 2004, and that was at Digital Domain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was after we worked at Ferrari's.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure that was the second thing that we worked on together.
And then did we work on anything after that down in LA before the Portland Exodus that everybody did, or a lot of people did?
I can't remember, other than that last time that I worked at Grant. That was the first and last time I worked at Grant's on the Zell job.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, and that was towards the end.
Right. The Sam Zell job tended to go to John Ferrari's shop, which then was called the Shape Shop, and Grant McEwen Design. They kind of split the duties. Assembly was at Grant's, and John Ferrari got stuck with a lot of the mold and casting work.
Yeah, so after I was done at Ferrari's, he suggested that I contact Grant's and go work there for a while.
That was the year that Ferrari started calling me and you the traders because we weren't working for him.
Right.
We went to Grant's where the assembly and the cleaner work was. So now you've done this now for almost about 2 decades.
Yeah, about 20 years.
Professionally.
Yeah.
But before that, you had your own business.
Well, this was back in Colorado.
Where you were born and raised.
Born and raised, Colorado. I was doing silk screen printing, on T-shirts and whatnot. And that was early to mid-90s. I did that for a number of years. And then, the film work was something that I was always interested in.
Right.
Since I was a kid.
Right.
But, being in Colorado, I never figured it would happen.
Sure. Right.
But my dad's youngest sister, she and her family had been living in California for quite some time. And it turns out she had a friend whose son worked in the industry. And when I discovered this, I got all excited, obviously. And, they put me in touch, and I corresponded with this guy over a number of months, and he suggested that I, just come out and trial by fire.
Yeah. What did he do for a living?
He was at Digital Domain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in the model shop. In fact, it was what was that Keanu Reeves movie? Was it Chain Reaction?
Right.
He had worked on that.
Okay.
So
I missed that one there.
yeah, and my aunt had told me she didn't understand the exact work that he was doing.
Right.
So it came out later that he was actually a model maker, which
Okay.
made me even more excited because that's what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
So anyway, talked to him for a little while, and he said, "Come on out." And by the time I eventually got to California, which was April of 1998, is when I arrived.
Right.
He had gotten out of the industry.
It's a tough game.
It is. Well, also in years following, I learned some things about this gentleman. He sounded like quite the character.
I see.
Yeah.
Has a reputation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I met with him briefly. He gave me a couple names. He gave me Alan Fauché's name.
Perfect.
You guys were working on Supernova at the time.
Oh, right.
I believe.
Yeah.
Of course, DD was all crewed up.
Yeah.
Didn't need any help. So
Right.
I'm like, well, shit, now what do I do?
Yeah, that was 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did, I started volunteering my time to student films
Oh, okay.
at
Right.
USC and AFI, and because I thought it might be a good idea to, see what's involved with making a film.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and started not necessarily making connections, but meeting people.
Yeah,
and,
some networking.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of networking, and then while I was doing that, I was going through. There are these companies in LA that, if you want to get into the film industry, they it seems kind of shady.
Yeah.
They kind of give you leads to fall down. And,
Right.
But
our end of the business is so obscure.
It is.
Yeah.
But it seemed kind of, I don't know, kind of shady. But when I was volunteering my time for the student films, I was still, looking at these lists of projects that needed people.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular who, this guy was working on a pilot for a proposed science fiction television series. And his prop maker needed some help. So, and what's funny is I was working on, that was the USC job that I was working on, the student film at USC. And I almost didn't go to this meeting because that day we were down in Santa Monica shooting on location.
Right.
And it was either a bookstore or a coffee shop, something like that.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I have this meeting and I'm not sure if I'm going to go. And they're like, nah, go ahead and go. So I did. And this guy put me in touch with his prop guy, who was Ted Smith.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I met
Evil Ted.
Evil Ted.
People probably know him on YouTube for all his how-to videos.
His cosplay foam fabrication. He's very popular with the kids.
Yeah, he is. He's huge.
He's also very good, very talented.
Yeah, he is. I met him at that one screening you brought him.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And, he's actually a real nice guy.
And for some reason, I thought you had both worked on Fifth Element.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
For some reason, I thought you did.
I missed it by months.
Yeah, but Ted was on Fifth Element, and interestingly, at this year's Comic-Con, the prop store of London booth,
yeah,
they had the taxi cab that Ted worked on.
That's great.
And he saw it there, and he was chatting up about what he had done and blah blah blah. And,
right.
yeah. So how old was that film? Like,
I don't even remember the year it came out, but
Yeah.
it's been a while.
20 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was reunited with his old work.
It's weird how that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now backing up though, but before you decide to make the jump to California, like a lot of us do at some point, you had a company you were doing graphics,
Silkscreen printing.
silkscreen printing,
Yeah. And we would do design also.
Right.
Some of the time.
and you enjoyed it, but you just found
Yeah. Well, I went to art school.
so you have
Out
a
of high
degree in
school.
art,
Associate's degree in
right?
I think they called it some bullshit name like visual communication. It was basically
Right.
advertising design.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the whole the slow screening, I just kind of felt like I wasn't getting anywhere,
Right.
and this crazy rare opportunity came up
Right.
where I had an in. I thought I had an in
Yeah.
to the Hollywood industry,
But it was the impetus to get you out there.
Yeah, it was. I figured, well, what do you got to lose?
Right.
If you're gonna do it, you better try it now.
Right.
Yeah.
But backing up even still further, but you came up as a kid enjoying the movies, loving the TV shows and movies.
Absolutely.
I remember, well, I know that over the years, you keep saying your favorite movie is probably Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That is my absolute favorite film ever.
It influenced you quite a bit.
No, what really influenced me as far as wanting to work in the industry was Alien.
Oh, okay.
Alien is what did it for me.
Right.
More specifically, there's a book on the production of Alien
Right.
that I saw in the bookstore. It was probably concurrent with the release or maybe slightly before the release.
Right.
So I begged my mother to take me to see Alien. And it was my first R-rated film.
So you knew about the chest burster before
I
you
did,
saw it.
because in conjunction with this making up book, they also released that graphic novel.
Right.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah, and I saw the chest burster, and I couldn't watch it.
So you looked away?
I couldn't watch it.
Covered your eyes.
I was so horrified.
That's great.
I didn't want to see it.
Well, I was pretty young. I was what year? 79?
79, I was probably not quite 12 years old.
I was 15, so yeah.
Yeah.
It was intense.
That was an intense film.
It was unlike anything else at the time.
Yeah, you know it. No, but seeing that book is what really...
Right. But what did you like about the movie, the production design? For me, I love Alien because it was unlike any other science fiction before then, really. I mean, we'd seen lived-in, worn, weathered stuff in Star Wars and a few places like
which
that.
Which is what...
But Alien really kind of brought it home that these are just like space truckers trying to make their pay.
Yeah.
And everything goes horribly wrong for them. And it just seemed very real amongst all the science fiction.
Yeah. No, definitely production design. All those Ron Cobb.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And of course, that's the first time I saw H.R. Giger's work.
Yes,
which is just like
mine too.
Mind-blowing and life-altering.
Yeah. So that really got into your head about movies.
Yeah, I mean, I knew
fabricated by people.
I had known prior to that through Star Wars. I knew, I kind of got it.
Yeah.
This is how it's done.
Right.
But seeing that behind the scenes stuff for Aliens, that really.
And you're at that age where it really made sense to you. And really brought it home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to work in the movies.
And then a couple more movies have to go through, and then like you said, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it just kind of cements it for you, your love and affinity for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I'd grown up, watching King Kong and the Ray Harryhausen Sinbad movies.
Right, and Godzilla Week.
Oh, yeah. Because my first love was dinosaurs, so, some of those, was it 1 million years BC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt there's Raquel Welch.
Oh, no, not at all.
Right.
Yeah, so that whole genre was definitely near and dear to my heart.
Right. So you get out to LA, not on false pretenses, but kind of mixed messages.
Yeah.
And you got the ball rolling. So you ended up
with Ted. And,
with Ted.
Helping out Ted.
You worked with him off and on for how long?
Well, after that first project, I guess he saw that I had potential.
Right.
And he started hiring me for small jobs here and there.
Right.
And, paid me a little bit of cash. And
that's good.
And then at that same time period, he and a couple other guys that he knew and had worked with were making stuff for Rob Zombie.
Oh, okay.
So my first actual real paying job after moving to LA was building stuff for Rob Zombie's tour.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I put all that together.
Oh, really?
I know you toured with him, right?
Yeah. So after that, we went out on tour.
What tour was it?
That was the Rock is Dead tour, and Rob opened for Korn.
I see. And how long did you tour?
We were out for about maybe 2.5 months.
Just U.S. or did you do
No,
overseas?
a couple days in Canada.
Oh, nice.
But it was mainly U.S.
Yeah. North America.
Yeah. And it got cut short, a little bit short, because the drummer for Korn was having like carpal tunnel problems.
Right.
Yeah, so they had to cut it short. But I was okay with that because I was pretty much done.
We will have you back another time and have a
Oh my
conversation
God,
about the Rob Zombie stories,
Jesus
of which you've
Christ.
shared a few with me, and they're awesome.
Oh,
But
they're
we'll do
horrifying when I think about it.
We'll do that another time.
That's a whole other world.
So after that, your first movie that you worked on
Was Red Planet.
Was Red Planet.
And so working
also digital domain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I finally eventually I got it eventually. It took a while,
Sure.
but I got in there.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, I would have to check, but I'm pretty sure this is burned into my memory that it was 564 days from the time I arrived in LA.
Wow.
That I set foot in the DD metal shop.
So a year and a half.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I made a Xerox copy of my security badge.
Right.
For DD and my first check.
That's awesome.
And I wrote 564 days in the process.
Nice. Yeah. And you worked for Alan Fichet?
Yes.
Yeah. Alan Fichet is he passed away a few years back because of cancer. He was a really good, well, to me anyhow, a really good soul. He was a good boss. He knew his stuff, and he's worked in the industry doing miniatures and props going back, as far as I know, into the 80s. So he's still sorely missed. Yeah. So you're working for Alan.
Yeah.
And what were you doing on Red Planet?
Oh, I was lowest of the low.
Yeah.
Just whatever they needed me to do.
Right.
Grunt work. I got stuck back in the mold room with Sliffy.
Richard Slifka. I hope one day to interview Richard Slifka.
That would be awesome.
I would have to have several parts with him.
So now, here's interesting. Here's how. It's all about the people. Here's how it worked. When working with Ted Smith, I started to meet some of his friends and colleagues.
Sure.
Who were also in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up at Digital Domain. It was because of Ted Van Dorn.
Okay, sure. Ted Van Dorn.
Yeah.
A well-known painter. Sadly, he's passed too.
Yeah.
He's deceased now. But he was a well-known painter for many years.
And then working with Richard Slifka in the mold shop. Slifka told me about John Ferrari's shop and the job there.
All right.
So I went to work there.
Yeah.
I met John Hoffman there.
Right.
John Hoffman got me in at Vision Crew Unlimited.
Oh, right.
That's where I met Doug Miller and John Warren.
And
Evan.
Yeah.
And ultimately, how I ended up at Leica was partially due to John Warren.
Yeah, that's why I ended up at Leica.
So it's just, these stepping stones through people that you meet and work with.
Yeah, that's true in life everywhere. Relationships you have and people you know, but the film industry seems to be very concentrated on that.
Because it's a very small industry.
Yeah.
And the
skill sets are so specific.
I was actually kind of surprised by that, how small it was.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
And stop motion is even tinier.
Yeah. Because you end up working with a lot of the same people at different shops.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Just the people that I would meet and work with. And
also, when you were a younger man, you, like a lot of us, were very influenced, and I think you collect comic books, graphic novels.
I was kind of sort of into that.
But it was more about the artist, more so than.
Oh, absolutely, the production design.
Yeah.
I was always in love with that.
And you have a thing for the Hellraiser series.
Hellboy,
sorry.
Oh,
How dare you?
How dare you?
Hellboy series.
Hellboy. Two completely different things.
That's
Mike Mignola.
Right.
Hellraiser is John Constantine, right?
Hellblazer.
Hellraiser is Clive Barker.
Right.
Hellblazer is John Constantine.
Right. We're going to stick to Hellboy.
Hellboy.
That's your thing. And you were lucky enough to do some props for which movie?
The first Guillermo del Toro movie,
right.
Which came out in...
So you were in heaven.
Oh, yeah. Well, see...
because you were well-versed on the artists and the stories before then.
Because in 1999, 2000, I started making these prop pieces from the comic books.
Right.
And I'm almost 100% sure that I was the first guy that was doing that.
Right.
I was the first guy doing Hellboy stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, the little amulets.
You're staking out that claim
I
right
was.
here.
Yeah.
Good.
This is my domain. I was making the amulet, the magical amulets and talismans, and I made his pistol, and so I started making these things, just for the fun of it, just for the enjoyment of, realizing these things in 3 dimensions.
Right.
And I love Mignola's artwork, and it's a really fun style to try and emulate.
Right.
But I started making these things, and I would photograph them and post them on the forums. There was a way back when Hellboy website, Hellboy.com, which was actually owned by a woman by the name of Jonelle Napper. It didn't actually belong to Mike Mignola.
Really?
Yeah, she
That's
had snaked it out from under him early on. But it was a great relationship between them, So I'd post it because I thought these Hellboy fans would enjoy seeing pictures of the stuff that I was doing.
Sure.
And they did. They got a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So there were rumors of a possible movie for years and years and years. Right. But once that started to coalesce and solidify and seemed like something that was actually going to happen, unbeknownst to me, this woman, Jonelle Napper, started forwarding pics of my stuff to Del Toro's people.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And when she told me, I was like, holy shit, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that same year, Del Toro and Mignola and Ron Perlman were going to be at San Diego Comic-Con to have a panel and then a signing afterwards. And I thought, this is a perfect golden opportunity.
Right.
Try and make something happen here. So I cast up three of the amulets and stood in line for the signing, and I think how they were lined up was first Ron Perlman, and then Mike Mignola, and then Guillermo del Toro was at the end. So it was bang, bang, bang. And when I gave it to Del Toro, he's like, "Hey, you're that guy on the internet."
Right.
Yes, I am. Here's my resume, and here's my portfolio.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And he said, "Okay, I'll have the prop master contact you."
Right.
And a couple weeks later, he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's everybody's dream, to do that kind of, pull off that kind of scam.
Yeah, you see an opportunity like that, and it's like, well,
or you got to try.
You got to try.
Yeah. Right.
And in this particular instance, it worked.
Right.
I got a little something out of it,
Yeah.
Now, I went and talked to the prop master. He's a very cool guy. He had a list. Guillermo gave him a list of stuff and unfortunately, it was stuff that I had already done from the comics.
Right.
I didn't get to do something new and cool.
Right.
Yeah, but makers can't be choosers.
Right.
So,
but still.
Yeah, I made up a bunch of stuff, and this was at the same time that I was working on Spider-Man 2.
Right.
So it was, these you've done side gigs.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Side gigs, G jobs. We've done that.
Yeah. And I made all the stuff, and
so you do 10 hours at the shop,
and
then you go home and you do several more hours
at
home at night on another project.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've done that
because you
many
love
times.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're young.
Yeah.
You're young and you love it.
Yeah, and you love it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they actually ended up using one of the things that I made in the scene where
that's crazy.
Hellboy resurrects the corpse.
Right.
Yeah. I learned several years later that the piece that they were intending to use didn't really work. Another prop maker had made this piece that was supposed to spring open.
Right.
And, in fact, I have a copy of it.
I have to pull that out later.
Yeah, I got a copy of it from the prop maker.
Right.
It had a piece of I can't remember now. Maybe the Shroud of Turin, or no. It was like a painting inside this amulet. It was somehow connected with Christ or something. But anyway,
a relic.
Yeah, but couldn't quite get it to work exactly the way I wanted it to.
Right.
So I just grabbed one of the pieces that I had made. Yeah.
That's
so that was actually,
worked out for you.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
But that's the way it is. These pieces we make, these elaborate things, they'll work fine 100 times in the shop, and you get them out on the day of the shoot, and they don't work.
And sometimes, you make stuff and they don't even use it at all.
Right.
So,
That's common.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the name of the game.
Yeah. So what other big movies did you work on before a bunch of us made the exodus up to Portland, Oregon for stop
let's
motion
see.
animation?
I can probably remember chronologically. Obviously, Red Planet was my first.
Right.
And then worked a little bit on the remake of The Time Machine.
Oh, right.
That was also a digital domain.
Right.
And then Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And then The Day After Tomorrow.
Right.
Also a DD.
Yeah.
And in amongst all this, I was meeting even more people, and they would suggest me for positions at other shops.
Yeah. That's how it works.
In fact, from that, I went to The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, now that's an interesting one because you have posters up in your apartment.
I have a poster of all the films
you worked on.
Yeah.
And I walked in and saw that and was
why is that?
I was a little taken aback. Now, so what did you do for Passion of the Christ?
I was part of a crew, a miniature crew, and we had a couple different miniatures of the Hebrew temple. At the moment that Christ dies, there's an earthquake.
Yeah, and the ground
splits.
splits.
Yeah. So there were two different. There was just a section of the floor alone, on a rig, and it would split open. And then there was another miniature, which was part of the temple. I don't know what you would call it exactly. Not necessarily the altar,
right?
Stuff like, but like the walls and steps leading up to that, and
then
part of the floor. And that was on the swinging rig that you would swing it, and it was driven onto a wedge, and the wedge would split the floor apart.
I see. Oh, look good.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an intense movie.
It is. Yeah, I went to see it. Obviously, since I worked on it, I wanted to see my work.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting a lot of.
It's pretty violent.
It is. It's shocking.
It's shockingly violent.
Yeah. And interesting when we were working on the miniature stuff. That was Captive Audience Productions was a production company, and it was Ted Ray. Did you work with Ted Ray?
Ted Ray, no.
Okay. He was supervising that, but anyway, at the same time, they were shooting, like, I guess, what would be considered like second unit stuff,
right?
Like the hammering of the nails.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The hands.
Sure,
Yeah,
close-ups and stuff
on the stage
while
we were doing the miniatures.
Right.
That was pretty wild stuff to see.
Prosthetic arms and hands
exactly.
with blood tubes ready out.
And I remember another shot. This guy, also named Tim, he was working on. It was like a section of full-scale landscape, a desert, sand and whatnot, and they were trying to achieve the shot where it started to rain.
Yeah.
When Christ died.
Yeah.
And they were experimenting with glycerin and all these other different materials to get these raindrops. I think they're doing like high speed for slow motion.
I see.
But that was pretty fascinating to see all the other stuff that was going on.
Visual effects.
Yeah.
In action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old school. None of the CG.
So, yeah, none of the CG. So,
after that was AVP, Alien vs. Predator.
Right.
And then,
do you have any props from that? We'll have to talk later.
No, the first. Yeah, we'll talk later.
But where I'm going with this is this is towards the slide that the model work and a fair amount of the prop work was just starting to dry up in Los Angeles, and a lot of us were making the hard decisions of getting out and going into another line of work, or leaving, going back home, wherever that was from, or holding on and trying to eke out what you could. And there was a bit of a diaspora of a lot of us around 2010 that came up to Portland, Oregon for Leica Studios to work in stop motion animation. What led you to that decision?
I was pestered.
John Warren?
John Warren and Greg Betcher, who was head of the
right,
shop.
Yeah, that's right, he was.
They kept pestering me.
Right.
I was like, nah, because I didn't want to move,
Yeah.
especially because moving sucks, but moving to another state sucks even more.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
I didn't want to have to, yeah, because it's,
Box it all up.
ugh, horrid. But they kept pestering me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, maybe there's something to this, So
Right.
I was talking about it with the guys that I was working with at the time I was working at a toy prototyping company.
Oh yeah.
They're like, what are you, stupid? You should go,
Right.
dumbass.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay. All
Yeah.
right, yeah, I guess I'll do it.
And
So I called Greg
and so you came up here for Paranorman
I did.
at Leica Studios, and
In
you got into the
2010.
in 2010. You
August
got
of
into the model
2010.
shop,
Yeah, yeah. And it
and
was a
you
whole new world.
you've done that pretty steady now for
I was there
5
for,
movies.
yeah, 7 years straight.
Right.
Yeah, which was nice.
Right.
Unprecedented,
Then
basically.
they had a bit of a hiatus, and now you're back on their newest project.
I am, yes. Yeah. And it's nice to be back somewhere.
What's your take on the ever-changing face of miniatures, going from visual effects to coming up here for stop mo, and how
Oh,
CG is eating our lunch?
I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. But the whole. I seem to recall hearing the rumors of, oh, this stuff is going away for the whole time I was in LA.
Yes.
And it never really did go away completely.
No, there's still a few guys
Yeah,
that
it
are eking
obviously
it out
got
even today.
less and less, and
Right.
smaller shops would close,
Right.
but I don't know. I mean, there are instances of not necessarily the old directors, but even some of the younger directors coming up now that they like practical effects.
Yeah, they do. It's funny. I worked on Serenity at Grant McCune's. Excuse me. And we built the ship, the full size Serenity, and it was pretty big. I think Greg Betcher led that crew.
Yeah, he was on
and I made the Firefly shuttles that nest in the sides, and that ship must have been 6 feet long. And
Yeah,
it was a big model, and we did all the crashing at the end of the movie in it. And they gave us drawings and blueprints that were from CGI. And we kind of asked, well, why are we building this model if you guys have already built it in the
Yeah.
computer?
just render it.
And because Joss Whedon is a big fan of miniatures.
They love doing that.
What is it about miniatures and props that keep you interested all these years?
Oh, I think just because I've loved it since I was a kid. I've loved it all these years.
You like the handmade aspect?
Yeah, the tactile response.
Right.
It's like, look at this. Look what I made.
Right.
You can handle it. Grab it in your hand and spin it around and look at it. And
Right.
look at all the sides and look for the imperfections. And
So 2 questions. What project are you most proud of over these 20 or so years? And then maybe not so much the project, what piece that you've made are you most proud of? So project and piece, what are they?
honestly, I've felt that I've done the best work of my career at Leica.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
'Cause-
really proud of the work that I've done there.
For whatever faults Leica may have, they give you time.
Yeah, yeah. And they're the same way with, well, obviously it has to be practical, but
Right.
they love the practical stuff too,
Right.
just by its very nature.
Right. Just to fill people in who don't know, Leica Studios is in Portland, Oregon. Actually, Hillsboro, Oregon, near Portland, and they're known for stop motion animation features. They've
Yep.
got 4, 5, 6 out now.
And stop motion by its very nature is all practical
Right.
miniatures.
Right.
And
So you think the quality of your work right now
I
is,
think so.
is at its
Yeah.
best?
Yeah.
But what project that you've worked on that you look back and go, yeah, I
Most
worked
proud
on
of?
that? What movie or TV show or even a commercial?
Probably the Leica films, maybe Box Trolls
Yeah.
and or Kubo, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
beautiful stuff. We all did.
It is.
I mean,
I think so.
I think every
Yeah.
one of us that worked on those movies
Yeah.
are working at a high level of
Absolutely.
accomplishment.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't say it was sweeping floors at Red Planet? No.
No, definitely not. No.
Right.
Other than the stuff at Leica, maybe the Doc Ock tentacles that we worked on for Spider-Man 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And who'd you do those for?
That was at Edge Effects, formerly X Effects, Steve Johnson's shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I never got over there. Was that a fun place to work?
Oh, that was crazy. That was a crazy place.
Yeah.
You know, I think the quote unquote creature shops are a little different.
Yes,
They're a little
they
more
are.
kooky than
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So you've worked at Legacy.
Yeah. It's pretty funny when the nerds in the model shop would goof on the creature effects guys. So.
Like, wow, get a load of these guys.
Well, good.
Yeah. No, I've been fortunate.
You've made a career.
Somehow, I've never really
Well,
considered that. It's just a loosely related string of jobs.
That's somewhat creative.
I guess it's a career. Yeah.
Creativity with a gun door.
But it's always been it's always come down to the people that I've met and worked with.
That's true. That's true.
That's the
I have lifelong friendships because of the industry.
Through line.
Yeah. Well, good. Anything else?
No, I'm just working now and I'm trying to do my work and
got a few dollars in the bank.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. That's a struggle.
Timmy's also a grade A collector, so
I don't know about that. Maybe
yes,
grade B. You've
got a ridiculous.
I don't have the deep pockets that some of the other guys do.
Like Russell.
That's a whole other story.
Another guy I'm going to be interviewing, Russell Seifert. He's a fantastic mold creature guy, and he's been around. He's been around a long time, and he's been collecting since day one. So he's got a stellar collection. We'll get him in here. All right, well, Tim. So 20 years. So you're we all are. You're all over IMDb, of course. But do you have any other?
No, I'm really not.
No.
I think I might have a couple of credits. I need to look into that.
Yeah, you got to hustle
fixed.
it.
Yeah,
they'll fix it for you. You just got to bug them.
Yeah.
Do you have
I really don't have much.
Internet presence?
Not so much. No.
I was going to ask you. I was going to you don't really service your Facebook account.
No.
You hide on the Instagram.
I don't have an Instagram account really. I need to do one. Maybe, I don't know. I've
think
heard rumors that Instagram's kind of on the out.
Is it with the
have
kids?
You heard that? Yeah, I don't know. But what do I know?
I live on Instagram. That's my place.
I do have a LinkedIn.
Okay.
There's a link. I have a rudimentary portfolio through LinkedIn.
So that's good. So if anybody wants to check out Tim Arp.
Yep, Tim Arp.
You could probably find a little more info on LinkedIn because he likes to lay low. He hides.
I do. It's best. It's best to lay low.
All right. Well, thanks, and we'll get you back down the road here to talk about Rob Zombie.
Oh, that's a whole other story.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, everybody. That'll do for now. Don't forget to check out my website, michaelposser.com. I'll have some info about Tim there and links related to the show. And that's it for today. And hope to see you again. Take care, everybody.